in the wake of the Planned Parenthood terrorist attack, there was another sort of concern that Fox hosts raised. Some of them were worried that we were so quick to jump to the conclusion that this guy who was white, and that he was likely, since he was shooting up an abortion clinic, a Christian, which he, of course, turned out to be. But still, is this discriminatory? We're going to turn now to Andrea Tantaros.
Charles, you saw on Twitter a lot of people rushing to judgment. Yeah. The same people that hesitate using the phrase Islamic terrorism were very quick to use the term Christian. And it was quite the leap, too, as you point out, to talk about a shooting and then link that somehow to women not being able to get abortions. They were not releasing information, and yet people had already jumped to conclusions, and they were indicting an entire religion, Christian, white, Republican, before we even got details.
The pro-life movement is a nonviolent movement. I mean, by definition, it's about finding nonviolent solutions.
It's about life.
It's about finding nonviolent solutions to unplanned or difficult pregnancies. So it's very cynical for them to tie that to the movement. And in fact, the officer who saved those lives happened to be pro-life himself.
Instead of going after Islamic terrorism, they can try and say that there's now this ongoing threat of Christian terrorism. But how can you conflate a murderous cult, Islamic cult, terrorizing the Middle East and the United States and any Western country, and some crazy man?
Well, I will agree. It is actually difficult to compare those directly because studies have shown that you're actually 5 to 7 times more likely to be killed by a right-wing terrorist in America than an Islamic terrorist. So she is correct there. It's hard to actually compare them. Yeah, oh God. So one of the first things she said was these people who are so hesitant to use the term Islamic terrorism are quick to jump to Christian terrorism. Okay, let's flip that back around. You, who are quick to throw out the term Islamic terrorism, apparently don't want to use Christian terrorism. How about this? If it's a religious person committing murders based on their religion, we use the name of their religion, just as a blanket. I'll match you on the Islamic thing if you'll use the Christian one.
What is this ridiculous notion that liberals are going out of their way to protect Islamic extremists? Okay? I don't like Islamic extremists. I hate Islamic extremists. I also hate Christian extremists. I hate any extremist or fundamentalist who uses their religion as an excuse to carry out acts of violence, okay? They're all hideous, they're all terrible. But the one thing that liberals try to do that conservatives go out of their way to avoid doing is draw a distinction between moderate Muslims who cause no trouble whatsoever and don't believe in violence and Islamic extremists. At the same time, for some reason or another, conservatives are unable to distinguish between those two things. And anytime that conservatives do anything wrong, they want to deny that any wrongdoing has occurred. What happened was wrong. And his ideology is very, very clear. He grew up Baptist, he did not believe in abortion, and he felt that the right thing to do was shoot up a Planned Parenthood because he thought that they were selling baby parts. They were not selling baby parts. As you guys know, that's a lie. It's beyond defamatory. And the fact that media outlets that are supposed to be neutral are still covering it as if Planned Parenthood could have done that drives me insane.
Yeah, he posted anti-abortion rants online that you can go read. The guy apparently looks like he doesn't live with electricity, but he still was able to go on these biblical rants online. One of the things that I love, of course, about what Andrea Tantaros said there, and I, with some of Ann Coulter, we believe that she's being fake, that she doesn't actually believe the things she says. I still haven't decided if Andrea Tantaros is a moron or not. Did she not understand that the reason people were bringing up the fact that he was a Christian, and I think I tweeted something like, I, as a former Christian, want to denounce him right off the bat. It's to teach you what that actually seems like when you do it. They're not actually saying that all Christians are terrorists. I'm not going to say anything mean about it. I'm not going to insult. They're not actually saying that. It's to prove a lesson. It's to demonstrate something. And that flew a mile over her head. She has no idea that that was what was going on.
So there's one small thing that she said in her rant that was right, okay? So when the story first broke and there was absolutely no indication of a motive, some people did jump to conclusions and immediately assume that this guy was targeting a Planned Parenthood. I saw it on Twitter, saw it on social media. And look, I have to be honest with you. Of course I speculated and I assumed internally that was what was going on. But I didn't report anything or tweet anything or say anything unless there was some evidence. And the evidence was that he said something about baby parts and an authority leaked that to the press. And then you look into his history and you realize that he had a very conservative ideology. As soon as I had those puzzle pieces to put together, then I had the ability to make an opinion about it, to share my opinion about it, and it was fine. I don't think that jumping to conclusions, whether it's a Muslim or a Christian, is acceptable under any circumstance. But once there's evidence of what really went on, then of course it's okay to criticize what's going on.
I think you're being too cautious there. Now, I wouldn't go and report that he's a Christian, certainly, until the
Yeah.
evidence had actually come out, and he is very much a Christian. But if somebody goes and shoots up an abortion clinic, to speculate that it's a crazed right-wing conservative seems pretty defensible, pretty accurate. If somebody goes and shoots up a black church, chances are they're a racist. If they go shoot up a synagogue, they're probably anti-Semitic.
No,
If they shoot up a Planned Parenthood, they're probably a right-winger who loves Fox News.
Right,
Now,
but
it
to be
turned out
fair-
that we were 100% correct, which is
Yes.
certainly nice. That's an icing on the cake right there.
Yeah.
But I think that it's somewhat understandable. It's not like, Planned Parenthood, they get attacked all the time. Sometimes it's environmentalists, sometimes it's Christians. You never know. Maybe it's a Black Lives Matter protest. That's not how it works.
Right.
It's fucking Christians. That's who attacks Planned Parenthood.
However, to be fair, when the story first broke, it wasn't absolutely clear that he had targeted the Planned Parenthood. It seemed like he was in this strip mall shopping center opening fire, and so you don't know.
I saw through that immediately.
Of course, look, I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot.
No,
Of
I'm not
course.
saying you are.
Yeah,
I'm saying
I know what
you
the
are too
reality
much of
was.
you're a journalism professor. That's why you're like, I'm going to wait until I have 2 independent sources of confirmation, and I'm like, motherfucker's a Christian. I know that.
Yeah.
You're the journalist. I'm apparently in this case an ideologue.
No, it's not even about being a journalist. It's about being cautious and just not jumping to conclusions. I think that it is irresponsible to jump to conclusions. But of course, like I said a million times,
Yeah.
I had my speculations. I was on board with most of the tweets that I saw. I'm like, yeah, they're probably right.
Yeah.
But, how terrible would you feel if you made these accusations and
That's
then
true.
later on you find out the story develops and it's totally different?
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
You would feel in this case like Ted Cruz, who I'm saying it's okay to speculate about the guy within the bounds of reason.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz speculated that the guy was a transgender left-wing activist, and now he looks like an effing moron. Because of course he's not a transgender left-wing activist. In one voter registration thing, it had him listed as a female. The organization that the bureau that did the voter registration has come out and said, no, that was our bad, that was a typo. Ted Cruz, the silence is deafening on your apology about that speculation that Andrea Tantaros, who I'm sure you love, is saying was so irresponsible to do. Why would you speculate like that? But he doesn't feel the need to apologize or backtrack
Yeah,
on that
well,
regard.
I mean, Republicans like Cruz have no humility. They have no
Education.
no anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's jump to this last video here. You're going to see Charles Payne and his proposed solution during the actual shooting.
The other side of this, guys, what about Harris when they brought in those military-style vehicles to help get those people to safety? We're talking about disarming our police. We're talking about demilitarizing our police because it's not right for them to have those kind of things.
He was shooting at police officers.
He was and also, what if more people had guns there, guys? What if people could have defended themselves?
It may have been a different outcome.
Yeah.
But they don't want to talk about that.
No, I want to talk about it. I have often thought in the days since the shooting that there weren't enough guns being fired there. What an idiot. Like the militarization, we're not saying that they should be given Nerf bats. We're saying that small towns don't necessarily need tanks. They shot the guy. They had a shootout with him. They did not need Humvees necessarily to do that.
It's funny how they see a story like that where innocent people get shot and killed, which, by the way, is a very regular occurrence in the U.S. at this point. And the first thing that they think is, you know what, more guns. When in reality, a normal, sane person would see a situation like that where a mentally ill person accessed an AK-47 and they would say, you know what, maybe we need to do something about our gun laws. Maybe we have too much guns out there. I mean, am I crazy right now? Why did this guy have access to an AK-47, right? And by the way, I know. I mean, if we pass gun laws, the criminals aren't going to follow the laws anyway, so let's not do anything. Let's just pollute the country with more guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the solution.
That is exactly why countries with strong gun control like the UK and Israel just have tons of criminals with AK-47s, except that they don't.
Exactly.
Because they have gun laws.
Yeah, by the way, I love that Andrea Tantaros makes that statement about how we need more guns in the same segment where she's talking about how awesome pro-life people are.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah, and by the way, so this is just, on the off chance that Andrea Tantaros or Charles Payne, whatever, is watching this, I just want to make this appeal to them. So I understand that they cannot see the trend here in the sort of people that shoot up the cops and shoot up these places. So you're going to see it as a bunch of crazy people. But I would wonder, why is it that when a crazy person picks up a gun and goes and shoots people, why do they always seem to be fans of Fox News? Why are they always fans of Glenn Beck and O'Reilly? Why do they always spout out this right-wing Christian rhetoric? Why can't a crazy person be liberal in this country, apparently? And the thing is, you supposedly love cops. okay? You'd love them. You don't want them to be shot. But they're getting ambushed and killed by militia members and sovereign citizens and this motherfucker in Colorado Springs. Why doesn't it bother you that people that share even a crazy version of your ideology continue to kill the people you supposedly love? If every week an environmentalist or a vegan was shooting up cops, it would bother us. We might not feel personally responsible, but we would talk about it a little bit. We would wonder, why is it that liberals keep fucking killing people? Why do environmentalists? Why do vegans? Why do people who are for solar energy keep shooting up cops? But that's not actually what happens. It's anti-government, right-wing, libertarian, crazy people. Not all of those things at the same time. But it's those sorts of people. Do some soul searching. Why is your side so likely to go insane and start killing people?